I knew you was coming through. I appreciate you stopping by from my heart, man. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Nah, but I really do appreciate it very much, guys, for you stopping by and checking out my videos. Hopefully, you know, I do exactly what you want me to do in these videos, and you do learn something and get a lot out of them. Anyways, welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, so I did went ahead and grabbed the game Wesley So versus Dmitry Andreikin. This is taken from the semifinal of the Rapid Chess Championship, and this is their second game, and it is the final game. This is for all the marbles, the whole kit and caboodle, so we're going to see how these guys play some chess. All of my people that are coming from the Philippines, as always, I would say mabuhay, kamusta na aking makaibigan, masaya ko makikinig muli, hello ulit. Magandang umaga to you. It is 4:40 in the morning. So, you know, I think some of you guys might be kind of watching this as you get up. Anybody who is coming from Russia, I will say privyet, dobre otra, kakadela, spasibo for coming by and taking a look at my stuff. But if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look. All right, so we got the move E4. We got C5. So the Sicilian defense. We got knight to F3. We got E6, D4, pawn takes, knight takes, and then we do have the move A6. And we kind of have a little bit of a branching point. What Wesley So decides is to play a very, very rare line. It's not that it's insanely rare, but there's not very many games in the database where this move has been played, and we see the move G3. So this is the Sicilian defense con variation. You know, when you see this pawn coming down here, you can also get into something that's a little bit more main line. If we back up here, after we see the move A6, almost always, which we have, you know, more than 12,000 games in the database, you will be seeing the move knight to C3. And then you would be seeing the move queen going to C7. You know, a majority of the time when you're playing against Sicilians, one of the main reasons why the Sicilian Najdorf is played like it is because this B5 square is very, very vulnerable for, you know, bishops, knights of either side. And so you definitely want A6 to be played normally when you're going to be making queen to C7, because if not, your queen is just going to get hit immediately, and you don't want that. But like I said, we did see the move G3, so we're going into more rare waters. So we're testing Andreikin to see where he's sitting at. We do see the move knight to C6. We got bishop to G2. We got the move H5. You know, this is a very, you know, known, you know, theme. Whenever somebody has fianchettoed, you know, on a certain side, you know, pushing that wing pawn, trying to get a little hook and, you know, trying to, you know, disrupt, you know, the little fianchetto setup that they got. We do see the move castles. We got the move H4, like I said, disrupting, getting that hook going on. We do see the move knight to C3 now. We got D6, knight takes C6, pawn takes C6, and then we do have the move knight to A4. And this move might look kind of strange. You're like, man, why am I just putting, you know, I haven't developed all my other pieces. Why am I putting that knight, you know, on A4? It's on the rim. It's going to be grim, right? Well, the thing about it is you kind of want to move it out of the way for what you see Wesley So do. This is the idea that he comes up with. We do see the move E5, and then we see the move C4. So we're kind of like tossing in like a Maroczy bind situation. But, I mean, as you guys were aware, with the knight sitting on C3, you had no ability to push this pawn. So you kind of move the knight out of the way, and then, I mean, you can always move it back if you want to. So we do see the move knight to F6. And this is the novelty of the game. As you can kind of see, we have a very interesting, rare-looking position. You know, we got this pawn over here. You know, we have this interesting, you know, pawn setup. This knight is on the rim. So, you know, all of those things added up, you know, a lot of the times they can get you into a novelty situation. So we do see the move C5. And we are, you know, like I always tell you guys with the Sicilians, D6 is a very weak point. So, you know, you do want to try to play against that weakness and try to kind of rip some things open, right? So we do see the move bishop to G4. We got queen coming over to C2. Pawn takes G3. Pawn takes G3. And like I told you guys last video, it's kind of a big breeze going on over here. The crazy thing about it is, even though it kind of looks like, you know, man, white is like really vulnerable here, right? Like that rook is on that open file. You will see coming up that black actually has more problems than white. You know, black is not really too much in a position to attack at the moment. You know, they are having some threats of ripping the center of the board open, which is not very good for this king that is stuck in the center. So you can't really go full on attack mode as black. I mean, you know, things are actually going really well for white. You know, they definitely have a command of this position as we see. We got rook going over to b8. We see pawn takes d6, queen takes d6, and then we do have the move bishop to e3. And like I was telling you before, you know, black kind of has a little bit of issues. You know, white is, they're not completely won in this position, but they do have a very sizable advantage, as you can see. And basically the reason why that is because this king has not found a home. Of course, it can't go queenside now, and it is stuck in the center of the board. Black is considerably behind as far as development. This bishop still needs to come out. You know, you kind of need the castle, but the problem is, you know, white can actually get themselves in a position where they can take more advantage of this file than black can. And I mean, you kind of don't want a castle on that side because, like I said, I mean, you kind of have a little bit of vulnerability over here. So because of the things that I just mentioned, plus white is in full on attack mode here, you know, black is not a happy camper at the moment. So we do see the move bishop to e7, and we see the move rook a to c1. And something that I want to mention, this is something that you'll actually see a couple times early on in this game. In this particular position, there is a very monstrous move that you can play, and it is actually the move f3. And this is a two-purpose move. Number one, you're just knocking this bishop out of the way somewhere, right? You know, back somewhere. And you are giving your king a little bit of room to breathe. And, you know, you're not worried about g3 because nothing is attacking it right now. So you probably would see the bishop coming back to e6. After the knight comes to c5, attacking that pawn over there on a6, and also attacking the bishop probably will drop back to c8. And then we would see rook a to d1, queen would go back to c7, and then king to f2. And like I said before, white can get themselves in a position, you know, that they can start to use this file. Because it's like, what do you do as black? Like, you really can't leave your king in the center of the board. Sorry. Let me take a drink right quick. All right. And I mean, you really kind of don't want a castle over there because, like I said, it's kind of dangerous, right? So this is a really nice position. So after bishop to e7, rook a to c1, I mean, white is still like completely like, you know, doing their thing in this position. So, I mean, they have everything kind of going for them. We do see castles up by black. We got b3. I mean, because, you know, if you're going to be moving this knight, moving this queen somewhere, especially taking this pawn or something like that, you know, you don't want to just drop your own pawn, right? So we do see rook f to d8, and then we see the move knight to c3. And the crazy thing about it was f3 was still a move in that position. After I go back, if you played f3 here, you would see the bishop probably going back to c8, and then after the rook f came to d1, this is actually even stronger. F3, I mean, you know, being in the early part of the game is definitely a move. But like I said, we did see rook f to d8. We got knight over to c5. We see bishop back to c8, of course, protecting that pawn on a6. The knight comes back to a4, and I have to say, honestly, this knight maneuver by Wesley kind of makes me sad a little bit. I mean, if you back up, all the knight really did was just kind of go back and forth. So like two tempi were kind of wasted. You got the knight coming here, then you got the bishop coming back, and then the knight literally just goes back where it came from. So it's like you haven't made any progress. And also, rook f to d1 is just screaming to be played in this exact position. And you can see that, you know, black doesn't really have like a lot of places that they can go to, you know, with this queen. As you will see, you know, they'll have a little bit more options coming up. We do see the move knight over to g4. I mean, and this is, you know, kind of placing a little bit of attack. Not only that, but it is activating the knight and the queen. Bishop goes to c5, but because the knight has moved, the queen can now slide over. And I mean, you know, you kind of have some threats going on right now as black. Even though the computer is like, hey, it's dead even. Like, there's nothing going on. There's nothing to see here. If you're white, like, and you're in the game and you don't see the computer's evaluation, you're thinking, oh, man, like, what am I about to do, right? Like, nah, like, you do not, you're sweating. Like, you're not thinking that this is dead even. Rook f goes to d1. You have to create some space for your king. We do see the move a5. We're thinking of maybe bringing the bishop down there, so we slide over with queen to e2, making sure you can't activate the queen, because this is our only flight square. If this square is taken away, there is checkmate on h2. So you have to make sure you do something about that. So bishop comes to g5, and I mean, everything is still like crazy even. You got rook taking d8 with check, bishop taking d8, rook over to d1. So I mean, both players in this position are literally doing everything that they need to be doing. I mean, everything is just like a-okay. We do see the move bishop back to g5. That's probably one of the best places for it to be. You don't really want to see like an f4 come up, you know, so you're just kind of basically making that impossible. You're trying to make it impossible for white to really do anything here. The king steps over to f1. We got knight to h2 at check. King goes back to g1. Knight goes to g4. But do not worry. After king to f1, we are not drawing the game. We do see the move queen to h2. We got rook up to d6. And, I mean, black and white are literally both matching each other as far as these positions are concerned. We do see the knight going back up to f6. And it is now that we see the move f3. And you guys remember I was telling you before in the game that f3 was like a monstrous move to make. It was really aggressive and you created some space for your king. Well, the unfortunate thing about this particular situation is the severe activity of this queen, this bishop. And I mean, just there's a bunch of pieces kind of hanging out over here. As you guys noticed before when I was mentioning f3, there were like literally no pieces over here, like right. So, I mean, your king could like kind of step into f2 and protect everything. That's actually not this situation. So we have reached a point in the game that if you do want to pause the video and there is a completely Mike Tyson knockout move in this position, go ahead and pause the video and try to see if you can find that move. Okay, so, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you always say like, you know, knight on the rim is grim. This knight on the rim is grim. This knight on the rim is literally just completely demolishing the entire game. So, as you guys know, to put the knight on the rim close to the king, there's only one move, knight to h4, or knight to h5. If you did guess knight to h5, you would be absolutely correct. I think a lot of you guys can notice that if you do move the knight over here to h5, that you are going to be threatening a fork on this king and this queen. So if you did notice that, I mean, you are really good at tactics, right? So the knight goes to h5, and you really don't have a lot to work with in this position. Like I said, once this knight captures here, you're literally forking the king and the queen. So, I mean, what Wesley So decides to do to try to defend against that is bishop to f2. But this just completely just ends the game on the spot. And after the bishop plays to h3 for Andreikin, Wesley So loses the game on time. He has about 20 seconds left at this point, so he just lets the 20 seconds run. And I mean, I do it myself when I'm frustrated and I'm just like, man, there's like 10 seconds left, 15 seconds left, whatever. But he looked like he was trying to find something to do, but there is literally nothing to do in this position. So Andreikin does win this game here, and he does advance to go further. Basically, I mean, some of you guys might be looking at the position like, okay, does it seem like there's maybe a way I can kind of get out of it? Well, the problem is this. There is only one move that you can make in this position that saves the queen. There are three There are three possible moves in this position. But like I said, there is only one that saves the queen. So if we look at those variations, the only variation that saves the queen, but you have to give up a piece, is king to e1. You're going to have to just part with that bishop because the king has to slide out of the danger that it's in. You would be looking at bishop taking g2. The king would slide over again to d1. Knight taking g3, bishop taking, queen taking, and like I said, this is the only way not to lose your queen. But you see the situation. You do have one less entire piece, and you are down an entire pawn. As white, there's literally nothing to play for right here in this position. You guys can see, obviously, this is completely losing. So if we go back, after we see the move bishop to f2 coming back, bishop comes to h3, there are two other moves, but they both almost immediately lose the queen. One of them is bishop takes h3. And to be insanely accurate, it's not even taking back the bishop on h3. It's actually going queen to h1 with check. And then the bishop goes down to cover that check. And then you see knight to g3 with check. And that's bye-bye queen. The only other option, which literally just abandons everything completely immediately, is bishop to e3. And then that's just literally the same thing. And the computer actually, if you want a fourth move, it actually gives bishop to b6. Which literally has the same effect of bishop as e3. So, yes, that is it's crazy because the game just seemed completely even for so long. And then all of a sudden it just completely fell apart. So it was pretty insane. That was a pretty interesting game, pretty roller coaster type of game. So if you guessed knight to h5, you would be super gangster. But I appreciate you guys very much. Spasibo. Salamat aking makaibigan. And I will see you guys next time.